The state of West Virginia was at the mercy of a devastating flood. Heavy rains for several days led to a sharp rise in the water level in rivers and streams. Water rushed into residential areas, washing away cars, destroying homes, and taking everything in its path. Thousands of people have been forced to flee their homes in a rush, and there have been fatalities. Rescue operations are ongoing, with military, police, and volunteers working in the region. The situation is complicated by the fact that many roads are destroyed or flooded. The disaster affects all continents. Russia, Novosibirsk Region. The hurricane left behind destruction, fallen trees, and power outages. Power lines were broken, concrete structures were damaged, and roofs were torn off. Residents found themselves in total darkness, literally and figuratively. Local authorities asked to remain calm and avoid going outside unless absolutely necessary. This is not the first such case in recent months. More and more Russian regions are facing extreme weather conditions. Now Mexico. Hurricane Erik, which hit the coast of Oaxaca state, turned streets into raging rivers. It was a Category 4 storm, and it came suddenly. In a short time, rainfall levels exceeded the monthly norm. The water flooded streets, penetrated homes, damaged power lines, and water supply systems. According to preliminary data, tens of thousands of residents were affected. Hundreds have been evacuated. The Mexican government has imposed a state of emergency in several municipalities. Tourism, one of the key economic sectors of the region, has come to a complete halt. Hotels are flooded, roads are destroyed, the airport is temporarily closed. Meteorologists warn the hurricane season has just begun, and Erik is far from the last. But perhaps the most symbolic loss was the monument to the sailing ship that stood on the beach of Puerto Escondido. This sculpture is a famous tourist symbol. Locals considered her the guardian of the coast, but she couldn't resist the elements. A giant wave caused by Hurricane Erik swept the monument into the ocean. Cruz Grande, in the Mexican state of Guerrero, is facing flooding that residents are calling the worst in decades. The region, which has not yet recovered from the effects of Hurricane Erik, has been hit by a new wave of torrential rains and floods. A record rainfall in 24 hours. The drainage system simply couldn't handle it. Water quickly flooded streets, homes, and farmland. In some neighborhoods, water levels reached the chest of an adult. The worst affected were the outskirts of the city, where streets turned into raging torrents. People living in one-story structures fled their homes in panic, unable to retrieve even their documents. There are reports of destroyed roads and bridges, villages cut off from the rest of the region. Some areas are still without electricity. Local authorities have declared a yellow alert level and continue to monitor the situation. The problem is compounded by high humidity and the threat of repeated downpours. Experts warn coastal regions of Mexico are becoming increasingly vulnerable to extreme weather. Rising ocean temperatures are making hurricanes more frequent and more destructive.
Allá hay otros quitando troncos, miren. Van a ayudar a aquellos, miren. Ya guardándose los celulares. Chile verde, el amigo Chile verde ahí va con su hija.
One of the most disturbing incidents in recent days occurred in Balikpapan, Indonesia. A local hospital was hit by severe flooding. As a result of prolonged heavy rains, the water rose sharply, flooding an entire neighborhood, including the most important medical facility. A story that could have ended in tragedy, but thanks to the courage of rescuers turned into a real victory of the human spirit. In East Nawalparasi, Nepal, a passenger bus was stranded on a stretch of road where the water level began to rise sharply. In a matter of minutes, the raging torrent ripped the vehicle off the road and carried it downstream. There were 38 people inside, including 3 children. The driver managed to give a distress signal, and in just 15 minutes, rescuers arrived on the scene. Surprisingly, thanks to competent and decisive actions, all passengers were evacuated. People were pulled out through the windows using ropes, rafts, and some literally on their hands. The bus was carried hundreds of meters down the river, where its wreckage was later found. According to eyewitnesses, the water was moving at such a speed that any slip could cost lives, but no one was killed. It was promptness and determination that saved dozens of lives. And now to Europe. The island of Sicily has seen one of the most powerful eruptions of the Etna volcano in recent months. Seismologists recorded powerful tremors, and residents of Catania and other cities reported vibrations, as if from a small earthquake. The height of the ash column reached 5 kilometers. Thousands of tourists who were on the slopes urgently went down. The Etna eruption was another reminder that even in highly developed countries, nature can surprise and shock. Let's move to India. In the state of Jharkhand, in the industrial city of Jamshedpur, there was the worst flooding in recent years. In just a few hours, the water level in the local river rose so high that it began to flood the central streets, residential areas, and even shopping centers. Hundreds of homes were affected. People were woken up in the middle of the night by the fact that the water started flowing directly into their bedrooms. Some were unable to escape in time and had to climb onto rooftops to wait for help. Cars parked along the streets went completely underwater. Some were literally swept away by the current. Rescuers evacuated people using boats, inflatable circles, and in some cases by hand, carrying them on their shoulders. Electricity and water supplies were cut off in several neighborhoods. The cause of the flooding was heavy monsoon rains, accompanied by wind and thunderstorm. Indonesia, another Southeast Asian country, continues to suffer from incessant downpours. The city of Atambua has experienced serious flooding. The streets have literally become rivers. More than 200 people were evacuated. Schools and administrative buildings were temporarily closed. Food and drinking water supplies were disrupted in some areas. Another Indian city, Nashik, in the state of Maharashtra, was hit by the elements. Another Indian city, Nashik, in the state of Maharashtra, was hit by a powerful downpour that flooded roads, basements, and public buildings in just a few hours. The following tragic story comes to us from South Asia. In Bangladesh, heavy rains flooded Fulgazi Bazaar, one of the largest and oldest markets in the region. Water literally rushed from the sky. In a matter of minutes, the rainwater system failed, and the entire market was underwater. People dropped everything and tried to escape. This week, a powerful storm hit Pavlodar, one of the largest cities in northeastern Kazakhstan. It started with dense clouds, then suddenly came strong winds, in some places turning into a hurricane. The most dangerous moment was when the wind began to fell trees. In the city center, several large poplars and birches collapsed directly onto parked cars,